Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the SuperBake podcast. Today, I wanted to talk about a video game that I had a chance to play earlier this year, Psychonauts 2 for the PlayStation 4. For anybody out there who might not know, which is probably everybody, I am actually a huge fan of the original Psychonauts. Back on the original Xbox console, was one of my favorite games growing up. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and waiting for the sequel for many, many years, and finally had the chance to play that. Came out earlier this year, I believe around October. Had the chance to finally pick it up and play it. And yeah, it was pretty much everything that I'd hoped it would be. So I'm going to kind of go into that in a little bit more details. And of course, as usual, this is a review, so this is going to contain major spoilers for it. So if you haven't played the game and you want to go in blind and experience it firsthand for yourself, I do recommend skipping this review. So yeah. First and foremost, for anyone out there who's curious about this game, story-wise, this does take place immediately after the first game. I think it's in-game, it's maybe like a couple days after the events of the first game where Raz leaves Whispering Rock camp, and he goes to the Psychonauts headquarters with Mia, Sasha, and Coach Oleander, as well as his girlfriend from the first game. I wish I could remember her name. I've looked that up later. But yeah, he goes to the Psychonauts headquarters, and while there, he is basically working as sort of an intern for them. And it's essentially, the game is basically about Raz trying to prove himself to the Psychonauts and trying to become an actual legitimate full-fledged Psychonaut. Which I thought was kind of funny, because in the end of the first game, if I remember correctly, I believe he actually is made a Psychonaut, but in this game it's just revealed that no, he's actually just an intern. And there's actually a pretty funny opening segment in the game where it shows Raz kind of doing the daily grind of working in an office. So I thought that was really funny. But yeah, this game is, to me, it was everything that I'd hoped it would be. It's everything that I think a great sequel should be. It takes everything that was great about the first game and builds upon it. It's from Double Fine Studios, so of course the writing and humor is on point here. They have not missed a beat. If you loved the humor and characters from the original game, I mean, you're going to love this game wholeheartedly. I know that I did. Yeah, definitely, I would definitely rank it up there as like probably one of my favorite games that I've played in a long time, like in the last few years at least. Yeah, not a very long game. I would say it took me probably about between 10 to 15 hours to beat the main story. I have not done very much of the side content yet. I do plan on doing that. I'm not going to try to 100% the game or anything like that, but I will probably go back and try to do as much as I can. There's definitely plenty of side quests and collectibles that you can do in this. A couple things that they do in the game that I think were definitely a great idea was the world that you're in is definitely much bigger. The Psychonauts HQ is pretty good sized, and then as well as the surrounding area around it, you're kind of in the middle of like in a sense, it's almost like the Whispering Rock summer camp of the first game. The facility that you're in, the HQ, is surrounded by wilderness. So there's like a campground nearby. There's like a research facility nearby. There's like a dark forest nearby. Yeah, the world that you're in, the overworld is quite a bit bigger than in the first game. So that's really cool how they did that. The dog barking out there. Hopefully this mic doesn't pick them up. Oh yeah, also I did get a brand new mic, JLab mic from Best Buy. Literally just plugged this in right before recording this episode. So I think that I figured out the settings the way that I want, but hopefully I sound okay. Tested it a little bit. Definitely think my voice sounds a little bit better on this. Seems like there's less of an echo. Geez, that dog is going nuts out there. All right. So anyways, back to the game. Yeah, the bigger overworld, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I loved that aspect of it. It's all the characters, and I think the voice actors from the original game are returning in this as well. Like Rasputin, his respective voice actors in it again, who I never can remember his name. It's something, I want to say it's like Horvath or something like that. I could be completely wrong. But I know he's voiced like Invader Zim. He played one of the Angry Beavers from that cartoon show on Nickelodeon. He's done a lot of stuff. He's one of my favorite voice actors. He was Billy from Billy and Mandy as well. He returns as Rasputin, and he, again, has not missed a beat. He's fantastic as the lead role. All the other supporting characters are great too. Like I said, Sasha, Coach Oleander, Mia, and then of course um, Ford Cruller returns in this game too, and his return was definitely really cool too. And he plays a significantly bigger part in this story, which I loved how it was handled. Another big aspect of this game and the story of it is that you get to see more of Raz's family. You were introduced to his dad in the first game. He shows up at the very end to help you battle the final boss. Well, the rest of Raz's family, including his father, show up in this game pretty early on, actually, and they play a huge role in the story. I won't give too much away about that because I really think that you have to experience it for yourself for it to really hit home with you. But it's done very well, and I loved it. Yeah, like there's so many great characters in this game too. It's like everybody just seems like they have like at least one or two moments where they just have these awesome, just hilarious lines that they deliver. There's one scene in particular, and you'll know it when you get to it. Again, I don't want to ruin it too much for you because I think it really is funnier if you go into it not knowing too much beforehand. But there is a scene where I believe it's where you first leave the HQ and you can kind of explore the surrounding area, and you go to it's kind of an abandoned like diner, and one of the other Psychonaut cadets is there, and they talk to Raz, and they are kind of sort of like running their own kind of make-believe restaurant, and they have a bunch of animals in there with them that kind of work for them as sort of like their employees, and like squirrels and deers and birds and stuff like that. And there is just this hilarious just moment there where you'll know it when you see it. It's such a great moment. There's a lot of stuff like that in this game. And that's the other thing about the game that I love so much is just the humor. The writing from the first game is present in Psychonauts 2, from head to toe. It feels very much like a sequel. Sometimes I think with some game series, when the sequel comes out, it misses a lot of the beats from the first game. I can safely say that is not the case with Psychonauts 2. The writing feels very much like the first game. Like I said, the story-wise, it takes place a few days after, the original Psychonauts, and it definitely feels like it. And the funny thing is, I think there's a part in the game where they kind of, I think the game developers kind of make a joke about that, because there's a scene where Raz goes back to Whispering Rock. Well, not actually Whispering Rock, it's like in someone's head, like a vision of it, but he's back at Whispering Rock. And he makes this comment, he says, like, oh, Whispering Rock Summer Camp, I haven't been here in like 3 days. And meanwhile, it's actually been 16 years, which when I stop and think about that is actually kind of depressing that it's been that long between both of the games, like over half my life almost. So, but yeah, so the writing is on point, the comedy is on point, and control-wise, it handles very well too. The controls can be a little sticky at times. I feel like Raz doesn't move quite as well as he did in the original game. At least it's been a while since I played the first Psychonauts, but I felt like in that game, like Raz felt like he was more mobile, like he could get around a lot easier. Here, the controls feel a little bit more, I don't know if clunky is the right word, but it kind of feels like Raz tends to stick sometimes. So like there'd be parts in the game where like I would go to jump and I would, press the jump button, but Raz wouldn't quite do it exactly when I told him to do it. And so I feel like there would be moments like that where, I might get killed or injured because just because the game didn't quite register when I would, input a command to jump or attack or something. But I mean, that didn't happen very often, and certainly not enough to ruin the game for me. Just a little thing that I noticed here and there. But overall, I mean, I loved this game from beginning to end. I mean, it's definitely a game that I plan on going back to replay at some point. There is no New Game Plus, unfortunately. I wish more games would input that. To me, it just adds so much great replayability to them, but unfortunately, that's not present in Psychonauts 2. If you want to play again, you will have to start from scratch. But like I said before, the campaign's pretty short, and it's not like a RPG where you have a lot of leveling up and XP that you miss out on. You have your different psychic powers that you get, but those are pretty easy to level up. Like I felt like I leveled up everything, pretty quickly. So I mean, the idea of starting over in a game like that is really not that big a deal. And honestly, your powers are really more there just to kind of, you can upgrade them if you want, because you get access to cooler, newer abilities. But I mean, you don't have to. It's not required for the story. As long as you have all your powers, which you get throughout the story anyway, you don't need to really upgrade them. Really, a lot of them you can just do just at your leisure. Also, kind of a side note too, I noticed there's a part in the game because it has to do with one of the powers that you get. And again, not gonna give away too much there because I think it's great if you discover it for yourself. But Raz gets these powers later in the game where basically the powers are a character that's introduced. And anybody who watched Invader Zim back in the day, I think you're going to appreciate it. You'll know it when you discover it. It's at I guess the only thing I will tell you, the only hint I will give you is that it's at a library themed level is where you get this new character slash power. And like I said, if you've watched Invader Zim, I think you'll appreciate it. It took me a second to catch it, but I think you'll really love it. It made me smile. You know, I used to love Invader Zim back in the day, so. Well, and it makes sense given that the voice actor for Raz was Invader Zim. This character's voice actor is, yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say on that. You'll have to discover it for yourself, but it's worth it in my opinion. Yeah, and honestly, as far as like negatives go for the game, I can't really think of too many without nitpicking too much. I kind of, talked about the controls being a little sticky at times, but that's really about it. As far as any other negatives, I mean, I guess that I had to wait so long for it to come out. No, not really. I mean, not a lot else really comes to mind on this game. I guess it would have been nice to see maybe a few other characters fleshed out a little bit more. You do get more background on like Ford Cruller, which is great, but it would have been kind of cool if we could have gotten a little bit more on like maybe some of the other psychic cadets that Raz works with. There's other kids that are at the HQ that he works with that kind of help him on his adventures. They're not super big characters, but they do play a pretty big role throughout the story. They're essentially kind of the replacements from the kids from the first game, the kids that you kind of meet around the summer camp. So they do help out Raz, but you don't really get the chance to really get to know them too well. Some of them do have side quests, I believe, that you can complete. Haven't done those yet, but I plan on it at some point. But yeah, they're all great characters. That's the thing is there's a lot of great characters in this game. And I love it for that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't really have a lot else negative to say about this game. Like, I loved it that much. Yeah, and then also on that topic of, on that topic of the characters, unfortunately, there's a couple characters that are not in this game. I noticed Bobby Zilch from the original, the kid with like the big cotton candy like orange hair. I don't know why. For some reason, I love that freaking goofball. Like, he just kills me. And then of course Linda. We all remember her, the magical lady from the first game, the giant fish monster. Unfortunately, they're not in this game. It would have been nice to see them, but at the same time, it's not that big a deal. But I couldn't help but notice it. So, and I'm not naming that as a negative aspect of this game by any means. I'm just noting that was they were not in there. So, would have loved to have seen them. Well, if they make a Psychonauts 3, hopefully maybe those two might make a comeback. But yeah, yeah. And then also too, like, I love the different levels in this game. So like for anyone who hasn't played the original Psychonauts, the main theme of the game is that Raz goes into other people's minds and tries to use his psychic powers to help them essentially. Most of the characters that he encounters are suffering from some sort of mental illness, whether it's like psychosis or like addiction. And it's, and he tries to help them with their problems. Usually in the sense curing them of their affliction or of their mental illness. It's obviously handled, because it's supposed to be, it's handled in a more simplistic way because it is obviously supposed to be, I think, more geared towards a younger audience, although there is plenty there for adults too. But obviously I know that like the subject of mental illness is a very serious subject, but the way they tackle it with not just levity, but also, I think, a sense of compassion and understanding, too. I think it's clear that the people who made these games, they took it very seriously, and they tried to approach, mental illness, I think, with a sense of respect. Like, I don't think they try to write it off like it's something funny, because it's certainly not. And the way they handle it, at least in my opinion, in most of these cases, it's very well done. It's very tasteful. Obviously, it's done more simplistically because it's a game, and obviously, the hero has to triumph. But but I still like how they did it. It was really cool. Um, and also, too, this game tackles some pretty heavy themes that I was not expecting from it. And again, I think it does it in a pretty good way. Um, like, there's a character later in the game that, if I remember correctly, I believe is voiced by Jack Black. Um, and there's a big reveal about his character later on that, I wasn't expecting it from him, but it was a really cool reveal, and I liked how the game did it. It was cool to see that because I kind of feel like a lot of games don't tackle that subject very much, and it was cool to see this game do that and to do it in a way that I thought was tasteful. So, but yeah, like I said, just across the board, I think this game was just fantastic, and I loved every moment of it. Like to me, like I don't have a lot of negative things to say about it. If I had to give it an overall score right now, I guess I would say honestly like a 9.5 out of 10. Um, yeah, like the only negative thing I can really think about it that really kind of stuck out to me, at least while playing it, was just the controls. Like again, at some points, kind of getting a little clunky and kind of throwing me off a little bit. But it's a very forgiving game, and I think there's a way you can set it up to where like I think it's like an invincibility mode, if I'm not mistaken, where you either can't get hurt or you can't die or something like that. So, but even when you do die, it's very forgiving. It's not like some games where you have to start all over and or you lose all your progress or something like that, or start from your last save point. So it's very forgiving, and I think that's kind of the point of the game. It's supposed to be a game that you can just sort of enjoy and sit back and just have a good time, and to me that's exactly what it does. But yeah, like Psychonauts 2 might be my favorite game in the last 5 years or so. I would rank it that high. Like, I'll put it this way: if I was the person who could decide game of the year, it would be a contender for sure. It'd probably be in my top five. If nothing else, like just for the writing and the characters, it's just so great. Yeah, I loved every minute of playing this game, and it definitely gets a strong recommendation from me. So yeah, if you haven't played it yet, I thoroughly recommend it. And I do plan on going back and playing the first one again too, because I have not played it in a very long time. It's probably been at least 5 or 6 years. And it is available online, I think, on the PlayStation Store for like, I think $10. I'm not sure how much it is if it's on Xbox. I'm sure it probably is, but yeah, this was a game that I'd been waiting for a long time. I mean, almost as long as like I've been waiting for like, Kingdom Hearts 3, which maybe I'll do a review of that at some point down the road. But as far as I've heard, there's no immediate plans to make a Psychonauts 3. Excuse me, let me get some water. I'll drink some water on the microphone. Sorry, trying to clear my throat. All right. Glad you got to listen to that. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, there's no immediate plans for Psychonauts 3. Hopefully, the second one just came out, so hopefully there will be down the road. I thought I saw in an article that Double Fine, the studio behind the game, had said that they do want to do something completely different from it. So, I'm all for that. I know the last game they had that wasn't Psychonauts related, I think it was Brutal Legend with Jack Black. I was interested in it, but I don't remember hearing a whole lot about it, so... But we'll see. If they do a side project, hopefully it'll be good, and maybe it might be worth checking out if it happens. Yeah, from what I heard, I think it was this game got delayed several times. From what I heard, apparently Double Fine, I think they wanted to make it a long time ago, but they just couldn't get the funding for it. And then I think through crowdfunding, I think they were able to finally get the money or raise enough money to actually work on it. But from what I understand, I think they'd released a few clips or something for it, like back in 2016, and like after that, nothing. So it was like several years of after getting screenshots from the game saying, oh yeah, this is happening, and then just no word at all. And I think a lot of people understandably thought that this just was never going to happen, and I was one of them. To be honest, I'd kind of given up hope a while back, so I was very happy when I found out that this actually was happening. Yeah, and again, like I said, I strongly recommend this game. If you have not picked it up already, definitely do so. And also, if you haven't played the first game, don't let that deter you from picking this up. The game does a really good job of catching you up with the events of the previous game. It has a really good opening segment, an animated segment where it shows you the events of the first game and explains a lot of the story to you. So, if you haven't played the first one, I mean, there's plenty of recap videos on YouTube anyway, so it's not like it's tough to get caught up on it. But even if you don't do that, the sequel does a pretty good job of getting you up to speed. So yeah, I mean, I would argue definitely don't let that deter you. It's worth picking up. It's definitely worth it's worth a play in my opinion. So yeah, like I said, I mean, definitely has a strong recommendation from me. I loved it wholeheartedly. It's a game that I definitely plan on going back and playing again for sure. So yeah, like I said, recommendations from me all across the board. So I'll probably try to do reviews on games too. Those won't come out obviously as often as shows, just because it takes me much longer to play a game than it does to watch a TV show. So like tonight I'll be watching another episode of The Witcher to work on my review for that. However, I mean, I might try to release reviews of games as I beat them here and there, but I'm pretty lax when it comes to playing games. I don't try to beat them on a strict timeline, so if I do play a game, it's and do a review for it, it'll probably be quite a while after it releases. I might do some games on or some reviews on retro games that came out a while back. Like for example, I just beat Xenoblade Chronicles 2 on the Switch. After having that sit in my backlog for like years. And really enjoyed that game too. So that might be another review that I do down the road. But for now, I just wanted to do my first review on a video game, and I figured what better one to do than one of my all-time favorites. So yeah, if you like what you heard, once again, feel free to like and subscribe. Again, I will be working on my reviews for the Witcher series, so look forward to seeing those posted here over the next coming weeks or so. I'll try to do probably at least 2 or 3 reviews a week, I would say, most likely 2, but we'll just kind of have to see. But yeah, I'll catch you guys next time.